Hi, Bob Zollner here with another video presentation of my website, www.anaddictivepersonality.com. And on this one, I'm going to be talking about forgiveness and the importance of it. A lot of people in my life have done things that I found to be hurtful. And I know it's a problem for a lot of people, but how it relates to addictive behavior, I believe a lot of it is spiritual in nature. I understand that the medical community defines addictive behavior like alcoholism and drug addiction and the like as to be medical problems, and I fully respect that, but I feel myself that there's a spiritual dimension to that really needs to be addressed. I believe a lot of issues come forth when there is a lot of bitterness in somebody's life. I believe my problems, especially with alcohol, stem from past hurts in my life that I never fully dealt with when I turned into my adult years. I had shared before that I was a very introverted, shy kid, very quiet to myself, and I didn't make a lot of friends. I tended to hang around with kids that were kind of like myself. I tended to get along better with them. I didn't get along with the so-called popular crowd, in crowd. I was bullied a lot. It's interesting how bullying has become such an issue nowadays. I mean, man, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and I went through a lot of people making fun of me for various things. I mean, I had physical aspects about me that no fault of my own, but yeah, I had a rather large head in comparison to the rest of my body, and people called me a lot of names. For instance, Herman Munster, Egghead, which now I could kind of shrug off, but back then, being a kid that wanted to just get along, that wanted to make friends, it was very hurtful at the time, and I held that into myself. I was not very adept at fighting. I was not very adept at defending myself, and so the fights that I did get into were very one-sided, and I tended to take a lot of these things to heart. Basically tried to be a good student. I tried to study hard and do the best I could. But the hurtful feelings carried on throughout school, and when I was about 17, I started drinking rather heavily. Definitely by the time I was a senior in high school, I was going out a lot on the weekends. Fortunately, it didn't affect my grades too much. My senior year in high school was actually my best year. But I drowned out a lot of my pain, my inner pain, with alcohol. And that carried on well into the 80s when I started pursuing gainful employment. And unfortunately, that was when I also started my years in college. I was a theater arts major at Marquette University. I wanted to be an actor, and if anybody has any idea what that lifestyle was like, I mean, there was a lot of partying going on. I'm actually grateful that that didn't work out for me. It lasted a semester, and I had to drop out because I got too drunk at a theater arts party, and I ended up totaling my parents' car over a fire hydrant. And it only happened about a block away from my parents' house, but I totaled the car. It ended up costing me about $800 to get it fixed, and because of that, there went my tuition money, and I had to go back to work full-time for a living, rather than just during the summer that I was doing before. I loved acting. And I think one of the reasons why I really loved it so much is because I could kind of hide myself in a character. It was very easy to get lost in whatever I was portraying, and maybe portray somebody that had a better life than I thought. I don't know. Over the years, especially during my years of sobriety, I feel God has led me to realize that I needed to get rid of a lot of the bitterness out of my life and take care of the obstacle that was creating to maintaining a sober life that would lead to more peace in my life. As a Christian, I take the Bible seriously, and one of the prayers that Jesus taught his disciples in the New Testament was the Lord's Prayer, and one part of it is, forgive us our debts as we forgive those who trespass against us. I feel it's a conditional prayer. I've heard preachers also agree with that. I feel that God is not going to forgive you unless you fully are willing and able to forgive others. And so what I started to ask God was to bring these people to mind. And one thing about praying for something like that, the old saying is, be careful what you ask for, or be careful what you pray for, because it might just happen. And over a number of years, God has been gracious to bring to mind a number of people that had hurt me over the years, and through the release of forgiveness, even though I never would see these people, at least in my own mind, in my own spirit, I had released them to God, even if they never personally approached me to ask for forgiveness. I released my hurt feelings, my bitterness, my sadness. I released them to God, and in return received peace. I believe that it's a powerful thing to be able to do that. And then there's the issue of forgiving myself. I still struggle with that. I think that's the most important thing that maybe anybody could do, is realizing that how can we receive forgiveness from an all-loving, all-powerful God, and yet hold the hurt and the guilt and the shame of past sins in our own life without forgiving ourselves and moving on and leading a more peaceful, better life that God can really give us if we fully release our past to God. There's a passage in the book of Psalms that God removes our iniquity as far as the east is from the west. Psalm 103. And if you really think about what that means, if you look at a globe, and you go from bottom to top or top to bottom, you will move from south to north and north to south. But if you go around the outer perimeter, it's either going to be you're always going east or you're always going west. So it's so neat, the appropriateness of that verse, because east and west are never going to meet. That's how far God separates us from our iniquities, that from our sins. It's just eternally, and that's how we should look at our past sins. Once they're forgiven, we need to do that to ourselves, remove them from us as far as the east is from the west. And only God, I think, can help us to really do that fully. And I know that it has brought me a lot of peace to be able to do that. And I believe that a lot of us could deal with our addictions a lot better if we would just remove those hurts from our lives. Try it sometime. Ask God to really bring to your mind people that have hurt you, and believe me, He'll do it. But anyways, I'm going to end it at that. That's my mini sermon for the day, and I welcome your comments. If you would just anything you have on your mind, stick it in a comment under the video, and I will read them. Use it as a forum to share, whatever you want, or go on my website, and feel free to answer any comment you want, but I will read them. And until the next video, I bid you farewell, and God bless you.